All good. Thank you for the heads up.
Great. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to this fiscal year 27 statewide transit programs overview presentation. I am Mitch Huber, one of our statewide transit planners, and I'll let Evan introduce himself.
Good morning. I'm Evan Tooten, one other statewide transit planner here at DRPT.
Fantastic. Yep, and those are our heads floating in. Great. Uh, and if we'll move into some housekeeping for the presentation. All present participants are in listen only mode or muted. We'll have question and answer breaks offered at key points throughout the presentations. So make sure you hold your questions until then. There will also be a Q&A session at the end of our presentation. To ask any questions, use the Q&A function up in the upper hand toolbar of your Teams. And you can also request to be unmuted from our moderator, Jayla. And at the top, and we'll see how many questions we get on this by the end of the presentation, but we are recording this presentation and it will be posted to our YouTube as well as on our Merit webpage. So just a high-level overview of what we'll be covering today, our fiscal year 27 grant overview, web grants, registrations, and requirement, Merit Capital Assistance Program, our Merit Operating Assistance Program, our Merit Special Programs, our TRIP program, our performance data reporting requirements for our grants, Section 5303 update, TDP and TSP updates and requirements, and other ongoing initiatives. And here's an illustration of our documentation. So our Blue Book was just published last week for our fiscal year 27, and our fiscal year 26 Purple Book is available online right now, and we typically update that in early spring, late winter. So be on the lookout for that. So with our Web Grants program, as many of you are very well aware of, is our grants management platform. This is a reminder to please log in at least every 90 days to avoid your accounts becoming inactive. If your account does become inactive, please don't make another new account because your old account's still in there. So just reach out to your program manager to have your account reinstated so you can get back in. Please regularly verify your information is up to date for all your registered users with your organization. WebGrants doesn't have a quote unquote master user role. So any staff involved in grants have to be added individually as additional grantee contacts for all grant applications. Per VITA policy, WebGrants will log you off after 10 minutes of inactivity, so be sure to save your work. And any sort of refresher you need heading into the season is still available on our YouTube and our webpage. So how to find funding opportunities. When you log in, you'll see the funding opportunity on the left-hand side, as well as a list of what is currently posted and able to be applied for in that menu. So once you click there, you'll be able to see program details, including applications under the funding opportunity that you've already started, a button to start a new application, contact information for the program officer for that funding opportunity, and a description and relevant attachments. So with that, I'll hand it to Evan to take over for our Merit Capital presentation.
Thanks, Mitch. I'm going to talk about our Merit Capital Assistance Program. First, getting into how we prioritize projects after they were applied for. Projects are first screened for eligibility. This includes, we review if they're included in your agency's TSP, TDPs. We review similar open grants and check for readiness to implement, which includes inclusion of study or engineering and design materials. We then filter projects into 3 categories by type and then score them according to the methodology outlined in the fiscal year 27 Transit Capital Assistance technical documentation saved on the Merit webpage. Projects are then ranked and then funding is allocated to those that meet or exceed the scoring threshold for each category. It should be noted that this threshold changes year to year based on the pool of applications received and the amount of funds available. There are three main capital assistance project types. The first is state of good repair, for which we provide an up to 68% state match. These are projects to replace or rehab an existing asset, excluding major capital construction projects with a cost over $3 million. The next is minor enhancements, for which we also provide a 68% state match. And these are projects or programs that add capacity or include the purchase of new assets that meet the following criteria, being under $3 million, certain fleet size, expansion change, projects with engineering or design of infrastructure or facilities, and then the purchase of assets that fall into special asset categories, which I'll explain more on the next slide. And the final category is major expansions, for which we provide a 50% state match. These are projects to add, expand, or improve transit services or facilities with project costs exceeding $3 million, or 5 or more expansion vehicles, or 5% growth in vehicle fleet size, whichever is greater. And this is also all projects that include the replacement of an entire existing facility. This slide shows the special asset categories that should be included under minor enhancements. These include tools, maintenance equipment, spare vehicle or rail parts, other capital finance strategies. Merit capital assistance will cover vehicle rebuilds, overhauls, and repowers. A key point for these is vehicle rebuilds are performed towards the end of a vehicle's useful life and requires the extension of the vehicle's estimated service life in Trans-Am, while vehicle overhauls are performed earlier and do not require extending the ESL. We are considering requests for alternative fuel vehicles, but just like for all projects, they must be included in your transit development plan or strategic plan. And we're also considering how you leverage local or federal funding, have approved funding for infrastructure alterations, and charging infrastructure generally is also eligible for capital assistance funding. Next, passenger shelters and amenities. For this fiscal year, we will not assign state-controlled federal funds to shelter projects. These are 5339 and 5311 funds. All applications for bus stop shelters should come in through merit and not the TRIP program. The local match for these is the same. This year, we have a pre-application requirement for major projects. So if you are intending to apply for a major project, I hope you've started that. The deadline for submitting this is December 1st. And new this year, we have a cost estimation template for construction projects prepared by our engineering team. The sheet must be completed in addition to your independent cost estimate, and it is saved on the Merit Program webpage. We recognize the diversity of projects, so please use your best judgment in completing the template. Our engineering team is here to help, and you can contact Bethel for assistance. Next, we have a few federal discretionary funding incentives for capital projects supported with federal discretionary funds. We will consider a local match under 4% on a case-by-case basis. And DRPT also has the flexibility to allocate funds to a reserve account that can be used throughout the fiscal year to support projects that receive federal discretionary funds. Now going back into web grants, there are 4 funding opportunities for Merit Capital. State of good repair is separated into vehicle projects and other projects. And then minor enhancement and major expansions have their own dedicated funding opportunities. When you click Start a New Application, there will be instructions on the top of the screen in blue that indicate what is included as part of the application. Now I'm going to talk about how projects are scored a little bit. For state of good repair projects, they have an asset condition score. Assets only begin to receive points at 80% of their estimated service life for age or mileage. Before that, they do not earn points. Next year, there's a planned update to the estimated service life policy for light-duty small body on chassis vehicles and light-duty medium body on chassis vehicles. The current rating is for 4 years or 100,000 miles, and the proposal is for 5 years or 150 miles for next fiscal year. State of good repair and minor enhancement projects also have a service impact score. These are based on a qualitative assessment of project type. So if you look at the bottom of this table, there's 3 rows for vehicles, and you can see that revenue vehicles earn more points than a support vehicle because of their impact on service. The final score type is incentive scores, and projects can receive these if they include characteristics that satisfy statewide goals and program requirements. These include zero emission technology, innovation, safety and comfort around customer facilities, and agency accountability and compliance with our requirements. And with that, I'll send it over to Mitch to talk about the Merit Operating Assistance Program.
Thanks, Evan. A lot of great information there. So moving into Merit Operating Assistance Program, this is our funding that provides for eligible operating expenses for all modes of public transportation services throughout the Commonwealth. This provides up to 30% of operating expenses. DRPT uses a performance-based formula, and the methodology is used to determine the specific allocation of operating assistance funds to each operating agency. And it's based on several delivery service factors, including sizing and performance metrics as shown below. For fiscal year 27, we are using fiscal year 25 audited figures, including operating costs, ridership, revenue hours, and miles. And performance metrics will be using FY22 through 25 audited figures, including passengers per revenue hour, revenue mile, operating cost per revenue hour, and per revenue mile, as well as operating cost per passenger. Back into web grants, you'll see 2 funding opportunities, including one for urban and one for rural. Most agencies will choose one or the other, but if you operate both types of service, you'll need to submit an application for each funding opportunity for consideration. The applications have been streamlined with web grants and should be easier for our agencies to complete. All financial data will be entered into one form. Activity line item level information from previous year operating expense is no longer required. All applicants will need to provide the total actual reimbursable expenses in this year's application. The operating assistance summary at the bottom of the financial data page will provide a summary of all data entered. Please use that to validate your submission. In the final application tab called budget, please feel free to leave total project cost empty or at 0. DRPT staff will overwrite this with the actual operating formula allocations. Beginning in fiscal year 26, certain grants have a new milestones form, which is editable by both ourselves and our grantees. Grantees should work with their program manager to identify milestones and dates and update those fields regularly throughout the duration of the grant. In FY27, we will be fully utilizing this form across all of our applications. Here's an example of what that might look like, and an example milestone template is also displayed, one for rolling stock, professional services, equipment, software, and hardware. These will also be available within web grants for your reference. And with that, we can take a brief pause with any questions. Not seeing any in the Q&A, no hands raised.
Oh, I'm sorry. I do have a question. I thought
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, when the part where you said that we can leave the total project costs blank, does that go for all of the applications we'll be applying for? So we don't need to put, okay, that's only first. Just the operating is okay. All right. That's why I wanted to clarify.
Yeah, just operating assistance.
Ah, okay, thank you.
Great. All right, with that, we'll move on to our special programs. Under our merit special programs, we have our workforce development program. This supports the deployment of interns, apprenticeships, mentorships, professional training, and support programs centered around careers in public transportation. This is an 80-20 match program. Eligible applicants include transit agencies, local governments, public service corporations, PDCs, MPOs, human service agencies in rural transit, and commuter assistance program operators. Fully eligible expenses include a fully loaded wage of $25 an hour, professional training expenses. This may include CDLs or other appropriate certifications and associated travel if relevant. And this can be used to match other eligible non-DRPT grants. Our technical assistance program offers support for a variety of planning related activities such as studies, plans, technical evaluations, feasibility studies for major capital projects or demonstration assistance, support for federal requirements such as TAM or PTASP, special CAP SP and TDM plans, and TSP TDB plans. Match rate, it is a 50-50 grant program. Eligible applicants include transit agencies, local governments, public service corporations, PDCs, MPOs, human service agencies, and rural transit and commuter assistance programs. Applicants must clearly demonstrate how resources will benefit transit. If you're submitting more than 2 applications, please email a list that is ranked to our Amy Garbarini for review and support. Our demonstration assistance or demo program supports and incentivizes implementation of new transit services and to test innovative non-traditional transportation solutions, reduce financial risk and fills funding gaps for projects and activities not directly suited for other federal and state funding. Timelines are typically 18 to 36-month timeframes. It is an 80-20 match program. Eligible applicants are transit agencies, local governments, PDCs, and MPOs. If applying for multiple demo grants, please reach out to your DRPT program manager with a prioritized list. Demo projects typically have 2 categories. One is new service. These include projects that serve areas or markets not currently served by public transportation or add additional connections or capacity to areas currently served. This does not include projects that restart or replace discontinued service, serve traditional transit services eligible for funding through other state and federal programs. These typically must include a feasibility or other suitable study for justification. Type 2 includes innovation and technology, including projects that test proof of concept for new or novel application of technologies used in public transportation services, and does not include projects that apply technological solutions that have previously been deployed for years and have proven effectiveness. Projects can be in areas both currently and not served by public transportation. So why do we have so many of these types of grants? We have the idea of a new service development pipeline where an agency can start with a technical assistance grant to study a service feasibility, refine scope, and project future needs. And then move into a demonstration grant, which we help with as a low risk demonstration of service to build local awareness and buy-in. And depending on the service typology and geographic location, it can move into our TRIP funding category, which is an extended funding source with phased increased local match, and then eventually moving into our merit program for long-term sustained service and performance-based incentives. And with that, I'll hand it back to Evan to give an overview of our TRIP program.
Great. This section is our final funding opportunity, the TRIP Transit Ridership Incentive Program. There are 4 project types under this program. The first is TRIP Regional Connectivity. This program provides up to 5 years of funding assistance for improving or expanding routes with regional significance, implementing integrated fare collection, developing and implementing regional subsidy allocation models, or establishing bus-only lanes on routes of regional significance. This program is only eligible for public transit providers operating within a metropolitan statistical area or MPOs, PDCs, or statewide or regional bodies operating in the same MSA. The next type is Trip Zero and Reduced Fare. This provides up to 3 years of funding for subsidized or fully free passes to low-income populations, eliminating fares on corridors, routes, or zones, eliminating fares system-wide. If this is what you're coming in for, grantees must commit to a 4th year of fare-free operations with no additional trip funds, with continued state oversight. And fare policy planning is also eligible under this program. Projects are reimbursed based on net fare collection. State match starts at 80% in year 1 with variable step down to 0% in year 4. This program type does not have geographic limitations, but eligible recipients are public transit providers that receive state operating assistance, MPOs and PDCs, and statewide bodies. Next is a newer project type added a few years ago, public safety. This provides funding for programming and training, planning, equipment, and will provide a match of 50 to 80% depending on the project type. And eligible recipients is the same as zero fare. For passenger amenities, this program provides year funding for improvements to existing bus stops, new bus stops, and improvements to other passenger facilities and bus stop and facility planning. State match is 50 to 68% depending on project type, and eligible recipients is the same. But to note again, any applications for bus stop shelters should be submitted through Merit Capital and not Trip Passenger Amenities. So after grants are awarded, we do have some performance data reporting requirements. In 2018, the General Assembly required the Commonwealth Transportation Board to allocate operating assistance solely on the basis of performance metrics. Transit grantees that wish to receive state operating assistance must submit performance data and audited operating costs. This should be reviewed prior to submission to us, and if you ever want to see what your fellow agencies are up to, our monthly performance metrics are displayed on our open data portal. Reporting is monthly. Transit grantees must submit ridership, vehicle revenue miles, and vehicle revenue hours in SharePoint by mode on or before the last business day each month for the previous month's activity. New service should be incorporated into the monthly reporting, and backup documentation to support each metric should be included. Some trip projects have quarterly reporting requirements. Reporting for most projects, capital projects, is met by the quarterly meetings you have with your program manager, and other reporting is through SharePoint. Finally, agencies that report passenger miles traveled to NTD must submit fiscal year PMT by mode directly to DRPT by December 15th each year. We understand that all agencies across the Commonwealth are impacted by data quality issues. You may amend previously submitted performance data in SharePoint if you discover errors. We just ask you to complete these no later than December 31st for the prior fiscal year. And then in January, us and the program managers review all the performance data submitted the prior fiscal year to flag any variances of 10% or higher. And then we'll reach out to get a reason for the variance. So please expect to hear from us in that time range. Now is our second pause for questions. So I'm gonna wait a second or two to see if we have any more. I think we're all good to move on.
All right.
Send it back to Mitch.
Thanks, Evan. So thanks everyone for sticking with us. We're in the home stretch here, I promise. So this section we'll talk about our 5303 program for MTP funding. So FTA section 5303 funding, our fiscal year 27 grant applications will be due May 1st. So you'll be getting more information about that as that date draws closer. 5303 funds can be carried over for 1 year and must be detailed in an approved UPWP. Applications must include ALIs that align with activities described within the UPWP. The usage of other is only accepted on a case-by-case basis, so please reach out to us if that is anyone's intention. UPWP budgets and narratives must clearly identify carryover funds and activities separately from new funds at the task level. If you have any questions what that might look like, please reach out to one of our planners. So our TDPs and TSPs, we have had our ongoing enhanced quarterly meetings, and those have replaced the annual update worksheet that we were previously using. So those are not being collected. So don't feel like if you forgot to send us something, don't worry about it. You don't need to. DRPT PMs and planning staff have been and will meet with each agency before January 14th of next year and discuss any upcoming or potential planning needs. As a reminder, if your agency is seeking funding assistance for their TDP or TSP updates, please apply through the Technical Assistance Grant Program. And I'll hand it back to Evan for some quick ongoing initiatives.
TAM, Transit Asset Management. TAM plans are required under federal code. They apply to all recipients of Chapter 53 funds that either own, operate, or manage capital assets used in providing public transit. Next year, we are embarking on the Tier 2 group plan update for federal fiscal years 26 to 29. We'll have a kickoff webinar on December 2nd. At least one representative from each Tier 2 agency is required to attend. If you're not sure if you're a Tier 2 agency, it is listed online and linked in this presentation after that's sent out. An adoption of this plan is expected in September of next year. Just a reminder to please maintain an accurate asset inventory and Transam. Updates are required by January 15th and July 15th. And please notify us of any changes with your agency's TAM accountable executive. Next, public transportation agency safety plans. Requirements are based on urbanized area populations with additional requirements for operators serving large UZAs with populations over 200,000. Please review your PTASPs. DRPT's made a checklist and webinar recordings available on the website. The FDA provides resources, and we only develop and maintain plans for newly eligible agencies. Training and technical assistance. RTAP, the Rural Transit Assistance Program, provides funding from FTA to assist with designing and implementing training and technical assistance projects and other support services for transportation operators in non-urbanized areas. Our public transit division provides resources for training and technical assistance to rural transportation providers through RTAP. These are 100% funds that don't require a local match. And then for small urban areas, there's a similar program with grant scholarships reimbursed at 80% of eligible expenses. And these are unique programs in that they are rolling and do not have deadlines. Final slide in the section, marketing transit service. Public transit providers can apply for funding under the Commuter Assistance Program, project assistance to market, advertise, and promote your service. Provide a 80% state match for eligible projects, which include marketing new services, developing marketing materials, paid advertising, promotional events, free rides for new riders. If you'd like to hear more about this, the CAP webinar is at 10 a.m. tomorrow. Next, use of bench contracts. Should I send it back over to Mitch?
Sure, no problem.
Okay.
So say you get one of our grants and to start developing service or study, whatever it is your agency wants to study, we as an agency have pre-procured our bench consultants for use by any of our grantees. These include Michael Baker, RK&K, WSP, AECOM, and Kimley Horn. The General Planning Bench or GPC is available to all of our grantees. If you have any questions about how to execute task orders, please reach out to your PM or planner. ICRs, our independent cost estimates, are required for projects over $250,000 per state code, but it's also encouraged for all projects. Please contact URPT for any resources and guidance. We also maintain FDA's requirement of subcontractor prompt pay. For more information about that, please refer to our online resources and reach out with any questions for that. Cost allocations must be in accordance with an approved cost allocation plan. Plans must be included with a submitted application, and DRPT will review your plan. Indirect cost may be charged to certain DRPT programs via a 15% de minimis rate or a rate approved by a cognizant federal or state agency. DRPT will review ICRPs within your proposals and review your guidance documents for more information, referring specifically to the Purple Book. When developing your applications, our guidance and assistance are always available. Our Blue Book can help with the Transit and Commuter Assistance Grant Application Manual. Our Purple Book is our Grant Administration Procedure Manual. Talk to your DRPT Program Manager. They are always your best resource for assistance with your application, as well as any one of our transit leaderships listed below. And with that, as we wrap up, here's our key dates coming up for our fiscal year 27 grant cycle. Applications will open on December 1st, as well as major pre-applications are due that day as well. And with that, I think we'll open the floor for questions.
I see Owen has a question in the Q&A. Are independent cost estimates required for vehicle procurement? I do not know that off the top of my head. Mitch, I believe the answer is yes.
I believe if it is, I don't want to give a wrong answer, but
Should
if
we
they're
phone a friend?
we should phone a friend. Is anyone
Order
hop in?
Dan.
Grant.
I can step in here.
Thanks, Aaron.
If you are procuring a vehicle off of one of Virginia's pre-procured state contracts, you don't need an independent cost estimate because that will be a purchase order as opposed to a full procurement. If you're procuring your own vehicles, then yes, you will need to do a full independent cost estimate.
I think also Mitch and Evan, just to highlight that Monica asked in the chat about confirming what of the funding opportunities require pre-application. And we just want to confirm that it's only for if you're applying for major expansion projects.
All right. Any other questions? Raise your hand, submit it in the chat. Give another 20 seconds. Oh, we have a question from Taylor Jenkins. We help her get off mute.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Awesome. Just wanted to follow up on the question in the chat. So the 5310 program also has a pre-application now?
Yes,
Correct.
those webinars were held yesterday. So there were two sets, one for new applicants as well as returning. We are requiring some pre-application information in order to be able to develop the program projects that we need for our FTA application. Taylor, I would say you should probably follow up with Jess directly to kind of understand the pre-app requirements that are tied to that, but we are implementing that for this fiscal year 27.
Great, thank you. And then does it have the same deadline as the major expansion pre-application?
I believe it's January 15th, so it's not the December 1st deadline. You have a little bit more time on that.
Awesome, thank you.
You're welcome.
I'll just jump in real quick on this. This is Dan Sonenklar. The 5310 pre-app is following a very different protocol than the major pre-app. Jess will be reviewing those on a rolling basis as they come in, starting on December 1st. And they need to be into her by January 15th. And so you will then be invited to complete a full application once she reviews this.
Thanks, Dan. All right, with that, I think we can safely wrap this up. Thanks everyone for bearing with us through all the riveting upcoming grant information. Please reach out to your program manager or planner with any questions. And with that, have a great day, have a great holiday, and we'll see you in your grant applications.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.